My late grandmother had told me about this monument in the village of Waitensville, Massachusetts, which commemorates soldiers in this area who died fighting in the Civil War. One of those men being my grandmother's great-grandfather, Jeremiah Callahan, which makes him my great-great-great-grandfather. In all of the stories she told me about him, I was able to verify thanks to the internet. Jeremiah came to America from County Kerry, Ireland in about 1860 with his wife Mary Ryan Callahan and their 3-year-old son Bartholomew. My great-great-grandmother, who was 2 years old at the time, was left behind in Ireland, while the rest of her family made the journey to America. I'm guessing they couldn't afford to take her, or she was too young to make the trip. The Callahans appeared in the 1860 U.S. Census. Jeremiah's occupation is listed as day laborer. His wife Mary has a box checked next to her name indicating that she is unable to read or write. The Callahans had 2 more daughters in the next couple of years, but one of them died as a toddler. There was one piece of information that my grandmother left behind that could not be found on the internet. It was the fact that a wealthy American who was drafted to serve as a Union soldier paid Jeremiah to take his place. This was a common practice. A rich man usually paid a poor immigrant about $300 to go to war so he wouldn't have to. As a replacement soldier, Jeremiah may not have even known what the war was all about. He needed to feed his family. He was mustered out in January 1864 as a member of the 57th Massachusetts Regiment, Company B. Although we have no pictures of Jeremiah, the man in this photograph is Josiah Hall, and he served alongside Jeremiah Callahan in the 57th Infantry. On June 2, 1864, Jeremiah was captured by rebel soldiers at the Battle of Cold Harbor, Virginia. This was one of the bloodiest battles in American history, and a devastating defeat for General Ulysses S. Grant, seen here in an actual photo from Cold Harbor. But the victory for General Robert E. Lee would be his last. Jeremiah Callahan was sent to Andersonville Prison in Georgia. It was overcrowded to 4 times its capacity, with an inadequate water supply, inadequate food rations, and unsanitary conditions. Of the approximately 45,000 Union soldiers held there during the war, nearly 13,000 died. The chief causes of death were scurvy, diarrhea, and dysentery. This is a diary entry from a POW at Andersonville. Ground covered with maggots. Lice by the 1,400,000 million infest Andersonville. Some of the men claim to have pet lice which they have trained. Charles Humphrey of Massachusetts has gone crazy and wanders about entirely naked. Dying off as usual, more in numbers as the summer advances. Rebels say that they don't begin to have hot weather down here until about August. Well, it is plain to me that all will die. Old prisoners have stood it as long as they can and are dropping off fast. Fast as the men die, they are stripped of their clothing so that those alive can be covered. A great many Irish here, and as a class they stand hardships well. June 28th. I am told about 130 die per day. Can see the dead wagon loaded up with 20 or 30 bodies at a time. 1 or 2 fall off the wagon and get run over. Here we have the very worst kind of water, and for air to breathe it arises from this foul place. High walls and tall trees, no wind to blow away the stench. Dead bodies lay all around in the broiling sun, and we must suffer and live in this atmosphere. August 2nd. Now 220 die each day. On August 29th, 1864, Jeremiah Callahan died at Andersonville Prison less than 3 months after being captured. His official cause of death was listed as scorbutus, which is more commonly known as scurvy. It is a lack of nutrition, specifically vitamin C. This is a description of scurvy documented in 1903 by a witness of the effects of the disease. Gums become more spongy, the teeth become loose and the gums sore. Spots appear on the legs, and pain is felt in old wounds and bruises. Later, from a slight edema, the legs and then the arms swell to a great size and become blackened behind the joints. After this patient is soon incapacitated, and the last horrible stages of the disease set in, from which death is a merciful release. Back home in Massachusetts, widow Mary Ryan Callahan is listed in the 1865 state census as working as a housekeeper. The box is again checked indicating that she is illiterate. Also listed are two of her children, aged 7 and 4. Mary has applied for a widow's pension. She provided a letter from her Catholic parish priest back in Ireland proving that she was the legal wife of Jeremiah Callahan. Mary was granted a widow's pension of $8 per month. Her 3 children, including my great-great-grandmother, still back in Ireland, each received $2 per month until their 16th birthdays. Honora Callahan, my great-great-grandmother, was finally reunited with her mother and 2 siblings at age 11 when she also emigrated to the U.S. She hadn't seen them since she was 2 years old, so they would have been virtual strangers to her. And she would never know her father, Jeremiah. Jeremiah Callahan would have been proud of his family. His grandson, Henry, became a popular piano player in the city of Providence. And another grandson, William, was an educator in Burrillville, Rhode Island, and there is a school named after him. And my family is also very proud of Jeremiah Callahan. He sacrificed his life trying to provide for his family.